It's Monday morning here on KSJE, and it's time to talk technology. It's our Monday Reboot segment. Lewis Campbell is joining me from Synergy Computer Systems. Lewis, good morning.
Good morning.
Man, it was a week ago that Facebook wasn't working. Last Monday.
Yeah, right around the time that their quote-unquote whistleblower testified in Congress, Facebook was down for hours.
Right. Was there a connection? There's conspiracy theories that it was, right?
Conspiracy theories. I don't know if there's very much more than that.
Oh, I just thought it would have been maybe Mr. Zuckerberg just saying, well, fine, we'll just unplug and see if you like it without us today. I don't know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put it
I
past him.
seriously doubt he'll do that.
Okay. I mean, I know they lost millions of dollars, so they probably didn't like that. But anyway, yeah. What happened? It was a router thing, right?
I honestly don't know the details yet about what happened with the failure. I've been spending so much time paying attention to the testimony that I haven't looked into the technical aspects of the failure. But the testimony was pretty rocking, and mostly because this was from a person who Facebook actually hired to do exactly what she did, right? So, see, when Facebook was beaten up by Congress before, they said, okay, we'll take care of this. We'll hire a firm to go in and do a study, and we promise we'll abide by what they tell us. And they did. They hired an independent group, or not entirely independent, but mostly independent, and gave them the marching orders to go in and do the research and figure it out.
Yeah.
And so, according to Hagen, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, and she was a product manager at Facebook, right? And they pulled her into this team. According to her, they did the research, they came up with the studies, and she's like, here's the studies, that's all the internal documentation they're talking about. They presented it to Facebook, and Facebook kind of had a collective meh, and so drove her to the point, after a long history of detailed stuff I won't get into, where she felt like the only thing she could do was take that evidence to Congress and be a whistleblower.
Right.
So it's interesting because they really can't, like, a lot of times a company will hang their hat on the old, like, well, you signed an NDA, you illegally removed company materials. None of that works for them because they actually were the ones that set this up. It's their own people that were trying to tell them this was happening, and they really didn't, according to this person, respond to it very well.
Whoops. Okay,
so,
well,
it's interesting.
It is interesting, and I'm sure more will be coming out of it as they continue to look into this. So very, very interesting. So another thing we wanted to ask you about is this chip shortage, right? Computer chip shortage, which is affecting the auto industry, right? And anyone that's driven by a car lot probably has noticed that there just aren't as many vehicles on the lots or even for sale like we would see maybe a year or so ago, right?
Yeah, and so what's interesting is there's more to the story than we've been hearing in the news, and the more to the story really has a strong technological bent. And it really is about technology here. So we have auto manufacturer CEOs that are going public and saying, we're not able to produce, our $50,000 car because of a $1 chip that we cannot get.
Right.
Because Intel won't give it to us, or Motorola won't give it to us, or whatever, and that's been the narrative for a long time. But now the chip makers are speaking up, and the chip makers are saying, well, wait a sec, time out. Let's be real here. These chips that you want us to produce, that we've been having trouble getting you during the pandemic, the reason is because they're back from the Stone Age. And we don't make those chips anymore because you're the only people that use them.
Oh, interesting.
They're like old technology. And so the chip makers are fighting back, and they're coming back and saying, hey, automakers, get with the program, update your technology, and then you won't have problems with chip shortages. Because during the pandemic, when the supply chain started shutting down, we focused on the things that have real demand. And these chips back from, the dark ages don't have real demand because you're the only ones using them.
Wow. That's an
So
interesting angle. I hadn't heard that. So,
Yeah, and now, but then there's still another angle.
but wait, there's more.
Done, right?
Okay.
So there's more. Anyone who's ever been involved in cybersecurity or even cybersecurity compliance knows that from a security and reliability perspective, okay, why do we still have mainframes around? Why do people even use mainframes? It's such old technology. It's because mainframes are reliable. They never die. So
You hear that, Facebook? Okay,
Yep.
sorry. Yeah.
you frequently see call centers and places like that that are really dependent, health networks that are really dependent on having technology that does not fail, use mainframes.
Okay.
And so the car makers are coming back with the same argument about their technology. It's like, look, you know why we use old technology? Legacy technology, that's the code word
Right.
in the industry. Because these are cars and because we can't kill people. And this stuff works, it's tried and true and tested and it doesn't fail. When you talk about updating technology, you're talking about us taking the risk that we're going to introduce bugs and stuff. And you know, a car cannot run like Microsoft Windows, right? You can't just reboot it in the middle of the road if it goes off. You know,
Good point.
You've got to have reliability.
Right.
And that is, if you're in the security industry and cybersecurity, you know that's a valid argument. There's a lot of places in cybersecurity where people use legacy technology because it's dependable.
Huh.
And
Interesting.
so that's it. You know,
Yeah.
that's the story. There's much more to this chip shortage than what we've been led to believe, and we got to see how this all works out.
Interesting. But I would think that the chip manufacturers would know that they've got a demand for these old chips from these car manufacturers, or did they just slow down their, I guess they did probably slow down their production during the start of the pandemic because we weren't going anywhere, so there really wasn't a demand, and now everyone's trying to catch up, I suppose. That's probably what's happened.
Yeah, but here's the thing: a car is a at least $20,000 to $50,000 investment.
Yes.
And a computer is like $1,000 investment. So many more people buy computers, and many more people buy all kinds of electronic gadgets than buy cars. So
Right.
the demand for the chips for the cars is just for auto manufacturing, which seems like a lot, but in volume, it's really a drop in the bucket for the chip manufacturers.
I got you.
They make
I gotcha.
many more chips for other things than they do for cars.
Right. Okay.
So.
I buy it. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Very good, Lewis Campbell. Thank you very much for joining me this morning on our Monday Reboot segment right here on KSJE Farmington.